Hi everyone, so we're back again at it, making awesome plugins, or at least learning how to do that. In this video, we're going to work with colors, try and generate a color palette. As you've probably been hearing me saying over and over again, I'll be trying to make plugins that people would actually use, and by people I mean you or designers at your company. Or your friend or your designer friends. So in this case here, one of the most common things with designers is to, once they've finished doing their designs, they will create some sort of color palette. So when they're showing off what they did, they would also create a color palette. It's so popular, in fact, that on Dribble, if you go to Dribble, there's always a color palette that is visible here. You can download. It's a very common thing, like I said. So what we're going to do is to walk through the design and create an artboard with the colors that the design is using. To do that, as always, I went to the plugin samples and then just search for color, and the first thing that came here is this colorize plugin. Open that folder, copy the text, and then go to git zip, paste that in here, and then download. So you can go through those steps to get to the starting point. Now that we've had that and I've shown you what I've done, the next step is obviously to just load our UXP developer tool. You'll see I already opened the plugin here, and I'll just click load. So take a moment, pause, and then go through the same steps if you want to follow along. So this is what the plugin will look like. I've gone in the manifest and changed the name here, given it the author as myself. So you can also do that too if you want to. So now the relevant part is obviously the main.js. But before we go there, I want to show you quickly how the plugin works. So, okay. I'm just going to create some text here. Then call this pizza. And then let's see if they give us any instructions. So the instruction here says the first character will be used for starting color and the last color will be the last color. Okay, so different of different colors. Randomizer will assign web-safe colors to each letter. So let's start with that. So that looks like the easiest one. And to do that is generate palette and then randomize. As you can see, it assigned different colors to each item of the text there. So let's go through the code and see if we can get the code for randomize here and try and borrow some stuff. You can see there's a function here for getting a random color. I'm going to create a quick utils folder out here, utils file rather. I don't know why the editor decided that is the correct thing to do. I'm going to get this, paste it in there, and then you can return this. Hopefully you've gone through my intro videos and you know what I'm doing here, but basically it's that the UXP way of doing things follows something similar to Node.js. So you use module.exports to export these functions, like for instance from a utils folder file here. So now let's look at if we can see how she's doing that. Let's see how she's using random color. So random color, apply random color to each letter. So this is definitely what you want to look at. So get style from position. For position, there's an index there, the style ranges. So now that I'm looking at this, it's a little bit probably not something you want to do, because this is actually editing the individual text items. But the important thing you see here, we get the fill property. So a lot of these nodes on XD. They have a fill property that can be a color or a gradient that you can set. And obviously you see there's a new color here, getting a new color from the XD color class there. It's probably something in UXP here. There it is. And then assigning that color with the new color there. So yeah, like I said, you're going to do the different direction. You're going to grab the fill from those items. So to do that, let's go to utils. We already have that there. I'm going to rename this file to something else. And our version is going to be much simplified because we are just starting out. We want to be a little bit easier on ourselves. You can come and play around with this and put your name there, but I won't. Okay. So yeah, cutting everything in there, and you're only going to be left with these guys here. So let's just call that generate, and when you edit the function name there, so if I go back a few steps, you'll see all of these functions, they get the selection, which indicates the currently selected items. So let me just call selection there. So yeah, now let's go and change that name from the manifest. We have entry points, a couple of entry points here. Just remove the ones you're not using, and call this generate. Okay. So yeah, let's moving on. What do we want to happen? So let's talk about strategy here. So the first thing we want to do is go through list of selected items. And that's actually quite easy. So I can actually just tell you how that works. So selected, I can type items is equal to selection dot items. Quite straightforward. And then we can also console log and see these guys here. Selected items, selection dot items. So yeah, obviously now to start seeing those effects, you need to start watching and also debugging, so we can see the log. Yeah, let's see if we can get that to work. So probably need to stop to unload it first. Let's see, because we moved the main file. So I'm going to unload it and then load it again, and then debug. So hopefully now we only have one command, and yes we do. And we can see selected items here is text. Yay. Yeah, so the next step is just a second. Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, moving on. So let's see if we can look at the text here and see if it gives us anything. So the text there, like I said, you're looking for a fill. If you can get one, yeah, here it is. So fill gives us a color object, and then if you look at the color object here, if you expand this, you'll get an option to hex here, which will convert the color to hex, obviously. So yeah, let's see if we can go through that and actually get the color themselves. So we can come here and say .map and see. Actually, to make us life easier for ourselves here is to I can actually say .map. So this will give us the node, and then we can return node.fill here and see. So selected items, so this will be like colors. Okay, let's see if that gives us a different result. Go there, generate. Okay, get a color. So let's see if we can get from multiple items. Select something like this. Generate that. Okay, so you get two colors. Okay, so now that we have that, we can just try and get that to hex file. So node.fill.tohex, and hopefully now this gives us hex codes instead. And as you can see, there we have them, the hex codes. Yeah, so let's move on now. Now that we have these colors, we can try and generate some sort of palette here. So before you generate a palette, I think it's easier to just preview those colors, so show them in like some sort of model. And as you can see, there are a lot of models being used here. Let's see if we can grab some ideas from them. Yeah, so we can get them from dialogues. I don't think this alerts allow you to add. We'll see if it allows you to enter HTML inside, but I don't think it does. So yeah, now that we've got the hex, we can just import these guys, like I said here, and then alert, selected colors. Let's use that. And then we can just get these colors here and join them with a comma. Okay, let's see if that is different, and we get the selected colors there. So it looks like that is the title, so we can just do something like selected colors and then place these colors. Like that. Try again. There you go. So yeah, that is the first step. Like I said, I'm going to try and see if we can actually put HTML in there. So we can say something like instead of just this, we return like a p tag, or rather a ul tag. And then place the color in there. Let's see if that helps us. It should be an line wrap. And then we'll wrap these guys in another. Yeah, it looks like well, there's a comma there. I think it's just a matter of removing the comma. Even if nothing. There you go. Looks like it supports HTML. Okay, so moving on. So now that we have seen the colors, okay, now that you know it supports HTML, we can actually even try to do something like, instead of just the URL there, we'll give this like a div, and then give it a style. always we need to give it some sort of width and height. And maybe with the radius of 50 pixels. Okay. There you go. Nice. So we can move on, right? Wrong. Yeah, let's see if we can do some useful things with this now. Okay, so now that we see the colors there, we can actually move to it. We should move to a different strategy now that we already know. We are already a little bit familiar with the colors. So the next strategy here should be create a circle for each color and add it to artboard. Okay, so we have to see, let me see how we can do this in a nice way. So we have those colors. How do we actually add the colors to the artboard? Because I don't want to add them right here, I want to add them somewhere else. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Can we listen for update in the commands here? I don't think we can. Yeah, this is actually a curious thing to do here. So let me try and tell you what I'm trying to figure out here. Okay, so let me show you like the easy way. The easy way will be something like this. Change this fill. Let's just use a box instead to simplify life a little bit here. Okay, actually we're going to select boxes. Let's get something like this. Okay, yeah, let's copy something. Lock that down. Why is he not locked yet? Okay. Okay, there you go. Copy that. No, copy group. Paste it in here, and then now let's get the colors from this guy. Okay, so we can try and get the selections from the color there and the color here. Okay, so if we say generate colors here, it give us those two colors, which is what we want. Now we want to actually create these items and show them there. Okay, so now to create an item is not too difficult. I've opened something else for reference here. It's again from the plugin samples to show you how you go about creating an item. So it's basically simply creating new rectangle or new ellipse or new text, and then from there it's just a matter of saying where to place it. So just say selection, insert insertion parent, and add rectangle or rectangle. So yeah, so let's just copy that code there. Okay, come back to our plugin. And see. So we've created a new rectangle. We've given it a width and height. We've given it a fill. Now the fill is going to be the color. So let's do this inside the book there. I'm going to comment this now and give it some generic. Okay, so there's the rectangle. The color, like I said, is going to be this dude here. Okay, yeah, so we are grabbing the color from the node here, and we're using that color inside here. Obviously, we don't really need to do all that, because since the node.fill without the hex here is already a color object, we can just assign it to here and do something, simplify life a little bit. Yeah, so then what is the next thing? It says what does this close? I don't think we should be having that in there. Yeah, that is not. Oh yeah, this is supposed to stay there. Okay, cool. So yeah, let's see if that works and see if it shows our newly created rectangles. Generate. Looks like we must have a bug. Sorts. Let's see. Generate. Nothing. Okay. Let's actually make sure it's actually not creating anything. Yeah, it doesn't look like it created anything. Let's see. Yeah, nothing here. So yeah, now we can just drop in a try and catch and see what is happening. Okay, let's try again. Hopefully this is still running. We're still debugging. Good. Generate. Okay, rectangle is not defined. Silly me. Okay, so just place rectangle in here, and hopefully now the bug is gone. Okay. I is not defined. What is I? Oh, my bad. I is the index here. Okay, one more time. There they are. Where is my other rectangle, guys? Seriously, strange. I don't see the other rectangle. How come? Let's make sure we're actually loading two rectangles. Okay, so it looks like it's showing both rectangles. Oh, there they are. The other one, I don't know why it's so showing it down there. Okay, so let's move it here, and then let's make this a little bit. We can give them both the width of 20 and height of 20. Okay, let's try again. There they are. For some reason I have more than I expected. Oh, I must be selecting something else in the back there. Okay, let's try to do the manual selection here. Let me see. so there they are. So I don't think we really need to change the vertical height, so I think I'm just going to change the X, and then the Y is going to just stay at 0. So the X is moving horizontally, but the Y will just stay at, yeah, let's just keep it at 50 and try again, and there they are. So yeah, the size, just going to grab a size here. I'm just going to create squares to simplify my life. Okay, so this is just going to be size times I, and then plus a little bit of margin, plus 10 lab, let's say. Undo, generate. What is going on? Initializer in const, missing initializer in const. Did I do something wrong? Oh yeah, size, which is why I need try catches, guys. Okay, generate again, there they are. I don't know why it's not adding my distance here. Plus 50. Strange. Oh yeah, I think it's about plus 50 times I. Okay, there it is. So it's not really 50, it's more of a size thing. So just need 10, just a little bit of space between them. Okay, generate, and there we go. Generate, nice. Yeah, so there you have it. So moving on. So now that we've created those guys, let's do one last thing. Maybe try and show difference. So either create rectangles or what is the other word? Okay, I'm going to move out of the try-catch here. Obviously, you shouldn't do that. But, so let's go back on our strategy here. Is go through list of selected items, generate a rectangle based on each selected item. Okay, for each selected item with color, text from fill. Okay, so the last thing here we're going to do is generate circles. Okay, so selection there. And this will be your circle, and with XD they're called ellipses. So this is going to be rectangle, call it circle, ellipse. Okay, so there you go, add circle. And yeah, now I'm thinking ellipses will be a little bit different. It won't just be with an height, so I'm going to do a quick search with it for ellipse here. There you go. So it's basically radius X and radius Y. And this is going to be over 2. looks like it's everything you need. Yeah. Yeah, moving on. So now obviously we need to create, now this is going to be generate rectangle. Generate circles, generate rectangles. Yeah, so that means we need to stop for just a second and watch, and also unload, and we'll change excuse me, so change the manifest here to be generate rectangles. And generate circles. Yeah, so basically the same thing, the only difference is what is being generated. Yeah, so let's load the plugin up again, and also do a watch, do a debug, and let's try again. So there, generate circles, and let's look for errors, and we need to do a catch here. Okay, let's make sure generate rectangles is actually still working. Yeah, that's the max. So let's see why the ellipse is not working. There's no error. Strange. This should be working then. Okay. Very strange, very strange. Let me see if I can find out what is not happening here. Generate circles. Does not work. Is it a fill thing? Looks like it should be working. Could be an issue this size. Maybe it doesn't expect. Let's see. let's see if this actually creates the circles. So let's console log these circles. Yeah, so it looks like there's an error there. I'm not getting the circles that have been generated. Curious. Sorry. Okay, so turns out the bell was my savior, or rather saved by the bell. I realized that was actually, I had a typo in this method here. So if I do that and then say generate circles, there are circles. Yeah, so hopefully this has been helpful for you. I'm not going to stop here. I'm going to move on to the next part. Now the next part is going to be, I'm going to convert this to a panel plugin. So that is going to be a little bit more involved. I'm going to be using the UI framework I showed in a few videos ago. So in case you want to bail out here, totally fine by me, because we're just going to expand on these concepts and make the UI a little bit nicer, but it's basically going to be more of this same concept. So yeah, if you're staying, let's move on. Okay, so now that I've covered the basics and gotten them out of the way, it's time now to move on into actually creating a real usable plugin. So yeah, to do that, I've cleaned out the code and brought in the UI framework that I've been using for a couple of videos now. I've also brought in the CSS that comes with that. If you don't know what this is, look for a video where I talk about I call it plugin. Let me see if I can find that for you. A plugin template, yeah, plugin template, that's what it is. XD plugins. So if you go to XD plugins, you'll find a plugin template here. You can get this is basically the setup I borrowed from there, with a few minor changes. My utils now here includes dialogues, and also I brought in the random color from earlier in the video that we're going to be using to generate, of course, the random color. So yeah, moving on. Now that we have that, I've also placed the main basic inside the where we left off. You can see those two generate rectangles and generate circles are in the main dash basic.js there, and this is basically cleaned up to start afresh with where the template normally lands us, which is inside here. So go through this if you haven't already. If you haven't seen the video of how this works, it means you probably are not familiar with this, so go check that out first. So yeah, now after that little setup, I'm going to go full speed ahead. So yeah, moving on. So when you launch the plugin, now it's going to read something like this. So with the obvious things we need to change first is that title, and call this generate palette. I really hope I'm spelling palette correctly. Let's see. Yeah, looks like I am. So generate palette, and then I've already set up the auto load here. It's still working in the back there. So if I save, that should update that to generate palette. Yeah, and now in our case we actually generating colors, so I'll update these items here to show the colors of those items there. Okay. So see what it does right now. It just gets the constructor name and shows the constructor name right inside the box there. So I'm going to change this a little bit and add a flex layout here. Again, you really should go through the intro to the framework tutorial to see how that works, how I'm doing. This is basically flex layout with align item center. So yeah, I just need to have a style here. It's going to be 50 pixels and width pixels, and then we'll have a background here, and give that a color. Background color is basically the item.fill. We'll just pull in the color item.color, and we're going to update our function below there. Do this will just be the item.name. So yeah, every time there's an update, it calls this function here with the selected items. So I'm just going to edit this function a little bit here. Okay, so I actually probably don't want to do this. I'm realizing right now I want to do something different. Do I? Yeah, so yeah, definitely I do. So we'll just put selection.items in here, and then the items themselves, we're going to map through them. Yeah, so if just do a quick thing check here. So there you go. Okay, so let's just do that, and then let's say use a let instead here. So if selected items dot length, actually let's just do that. So selected items is going to be selected items map, and then get the item here and return. So like I said, there's going to be name, which will map to the item.constructor.name, which is basically the name of the node itself, type of node. So if it's a text, it will be text, and then otherwise it's going to also return the color, which is going to be item.fill to hex. Okay, so hopefully by doing that, it's going to update our UI there. You see we get strange. Let's see. So but if it looks like it actually is showing our items, I think there's a problem with the color there. I don't know what it is. Let's see. I'm going to just do a quick console log of these items here. Let's see from our debugger here. So name is path. Looks like it should be working properly. Okay, so let's see why it's not happening. Curious. Well, let's go try and background red here. Let's see. Okay, that's also very large, so let's do like 30 there, and also let's put some space here. M left is equal to 3, left 3. I don't have M left 3. Okay, looks like never added them left, so let's get these guys here. This is supposed to be right, left. Okay, there you go. So yeah, I'm not sure why it's not aligning items to the center there. I think there's a problem with my code here, so it should be center, comma, item center, should align item center, comma, justify center, should be justify content center. Hopefully that works now. Yeah. Cool. So nice. So now that we have this, I don't know what that path 774 is. Let's just try and console and log the item itself and see what it gives us. Okay, so it's basically the whole item. I feel like I'm missing something here. Oh, okay. My bad. So it's showing the selection items instead of the, so it's not using these changes we just made here. So if I say selected items now, it should work properly. Okay. Let's change that back to the cell.name. Okay, so there we have it. So something we can do here, obviously, we could be a little bit clever here and say if the item has a name and item.name.length, use that. Otherwise, so let's see. Yeah, so basically what it's doing is, if there's a name, if for instance I come here to the assets panel and change that name there, this I think is the path 774, and call this like pizza wrapper, and go back to the plugin here, you'll see it's now going to call itself pizza wrapper. Yeah, so basically that's what it's doing there. And also if I call this badge, it's going to do the same thing. So yeah, if I select both of them, I just need to update the color there. Where is my item? Here. Yeah, and there we go, we have our colors. I'm thinking probably that is still a little bit too large. Let's change that to maybe 20. Yeah, and let's text this to text small. Do you have text small? We don't. Okay, we'll have a text small class here. Let's reduce that to maybe 0.7655. That is too small. 6, 5. Yeah, I think probably that is a small text. Let's just use text mail instead. Yeah, there you go. In the padding, we're having a padding 3. Maybe let's try padding 2 instead. Yeah. And rounded. I don't think that is rounded small. like it is. Let's try on extra small. Yeah, something like that. The border's a little bit tighter now, and this change is maybe 1. Is that too little? Yeah, that is too little. Okay, moving on. I'm going to reduce this to really small. Okay, and maybe change the padding bottom to 2. Yeah, something around those lines. And I'm thinking instead of a gray background, we could have like a white background. Beachy white. Can even see that white. Okay, let's try light gray. Let's see. So for light gray, let's reduce this to something like maybe an F there instead of an A. Looks like that is way too close to the XD backgrounds there. So let's 3, 2. Let's see what is the. If you want to like white completely, I don't think I can see those things there. That's why I'm trying to avoid going straight to white. The contrast is a little bit too low. I haven't tried this. I'm not sure. I don't know if it supports semi-transparent. Apparently it does. So yeah. So let's go in that direction instead. So 0.5. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to change this in from light gray to something else. I'm going to leave light gray back here again. So the gray is that. I'm going to undo all these changes. Okay. So gray will be that, and then light gray will be something like an F0, F0, F0 around there. I think that is maybe the lightest gray I'm comfortable with. And then go here to BG black. Let's call this black 20. If you have used Flutter, you're probably familiar with this black 20. I think there's a black 26 in Flutter. Yeah, let me just call it that. So yeah, so let's use black 26. Yeah, so let's continue. We've spent way too much time there. Yeah, so now what we want to do is now allow the user, since we already noticed that they have the colors, we want to continue. So we don't really need the message there. I don't think I need that message. Click on one of the colors to expand it. I don't think we need that. So yeah, we can just call these colors actually colors, and then we can continue to the next step, which is yeah, I'm going to copy this button. There's a button here which will just say continue. Okay. away from this car. Okay, he's making my life a little bit difficult. Just use a div. This is not a good practice. I'm sure you know this by now, but the good thing about not shipping a production thing is I can do this. Button large. What else? There's a button class in here. Here it is. Oh, I need to have those things. So here it is. There it is. So maybe remove the large. Don't think we need it. Yeah. So moving on. Again, now that I'm looking at those colors, I don't like that gray. Yeah, I think that is a little bit contrasted enough. More contrasted. Yeah, so I'm going to add a margin top of 3 to this guy. Do you have a margin top? Yeah. Doesn't look like the button is responding though. So I'm just going to add a margin bottom to this guy. There you go. Maybe a 2 instead of 3. Okay, cool. So the next thing is now that you have selected the colors, you want to continue the next screen. Where when somebody will just pick how they what kind of screen they want to generate, rather what kind of palette items they want to generate. Is it the circles or the rectangles? So when they click continue there, we're going to change the screen. So right now we're going to add another variable here at the state, which is going to be I'm going to delete the code for the expanded index, by the way. I don't really need it anymore. I will just leave it there for reference in it. That we'll use in a second, but we won't be using this guy here. So let's add something else. Screen. So by default the screen is pick, and then we'll only be showing these guys. Where is it? Here. So yeah, we'll only be showing all of these guys here if the screen is big. Okay. And then otherwise we'll be showing something else. So for now, let's just say screen is equal to generate. Yeah, and this should be an string. Screen is going to pick or screen is going to generate. Cool. So in the generate screen here, the first thing we need to do is tell the user to allow the user to pick what kind of what kind of template they want to use. Now that I'm looking at that, I feel like we have space for that here. So the colors are listed. You pick a template and then generate. Yeah, I think we have space for that there. Yeah, let's just use that, and then we'll call this generate. So yeah, there you go. We have the colors there. So the template, we're going to copy this style in here. And we call this rectangle. And we'll call circle, and we'll give this a different something here. You should have like a rounded full. Okay, let's try that out. And so we'll have a rounded full for these guys here. The shadow doesn't do anything right now, so I'm going to ignore that. And we don't really care about the selection class. Okay, so circle, let's see how those look. Rectangle and circle. So yeah, what I'm going to do here is give this 50 pixels instead. Oh yeah, it's at the wrong place. It's supposed to be on this guy here. Let's see if 50% still works. Yep. Okay, so there we go. So we have a circle there and a rectangle. I feel like the circle could be larger. Usually it looks smaller than that. Okay. Yeah. So selection class. Now that we remove the selection class here, we no longer get the so this should be like a beige gray. Okay. So I feel like we can have this horizontal instead of going vertically. So let's introduce a flex here. Following the flex paradigm there. I think that is probably what the problem was. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think the problem was that they were by default with the flex class they are filling the entire width. So yeah, now that we fixed that, should remove that problem. Now, the next thing is to obviously undo the changes I made on the circle there. They're affecting everything else. Restore it to 20. And maybe the trick will be to reduce to this guy here, maybe 16, 18. Yeah, so they look a little bit closer visually. And this margin right feels like too much. Margin left rather. Okay. I can decide anyway. Yeah, so moving on. So the last thing I want to do here is these guys should have like a rounded class. Rounded small. Yeah, so they look a little bit like buttons. And I want this guy to have some space on the right, so much in right 2-ish. I don't think we have much in right. Okay. Sorry, wrong thing. That. Okay. There you go. So these are a little bit too close. I'm going to give this margin top of 2. For some reason margin top is not working. Okay, so I'll give this guys margin bottom of 3, so there's a little bit of space between that and the bottom here. This is adding class name instead of class. Yeah, it could be that is why it wasn't working. Let's try moving the inline class again. Yeah, I think it added class name instead of class. So yeah, moving on. So let's return this to margin 2, something like that. And then let's give these guys a border. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so okay, cool. So I think I can go on from there. So I think something we need to do here is use item stretch. Justify stretch so that these items can stretch in that space there. So do not justify content stretch. Okay, I guess we don't have that class. I must have confused it with the line item stretch. Okay, so what I want to do instead is to have a flex one here, which will just be flex one, and give each of these guys a flex one. Are they? So yeah, each of them will take the half of the width that is left there. Okay, cool. So moving on. So if you're probably have not researched this, we don't have support for CSS Grid yet in XD plugins. So once that comes in, it would have been easier for me to just say grid and then 2 columns. But until then, we use the good old flex. Yeah. So what I want to do here is, by default, they will have be transparent, and then when they're selected, it will come alive. Yeah, I'm not sure the UI framework supports that yet. Like, I don't know how to do that with the UI framework, so I'm thinking about it, how we would do that. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video here and then come back once I've figured it out. Okay, so after much googling and playing around with the framework, I figured out a way to do it. So I hadn't created a way to bind to classes and styles, which is what I'm trying to do here. So what I want to do here is, when somebody selects rectangle here, it's going to have a class of maybe BG gray, and then if they select circle here, it's going to have BG gray with the border. So to do that, I have to do something like this: xbind class, and then we check if the selected template is equal to rectangle. We set the BG gray. This and here is a popular JavaScript thing. If you have not done any React, what that means is, if I have an expression here, so let's say 3 minus 2 is equal to 1, it's going to evaluate to true. Now if I say end, it's going to give me this, what I wrote in front as a result. So that's what I'm trying to do here. It's a very popular pattern in React, but I'm sure if you haven't done any React, you won't be familiar with it. So what this does is, so selected template is equal to rectangle. If it's true, then it's going to evaluate to truth, and then it's going to to add this item at the end there. Yeah, so now I have to actually make that work. I wanted to show you how I would implement that in the framework, for those who are curious. Obviously, if you're not curious, I'll try and put a comment down there with a way for you to skip this part. But yeah, for those who are curious, so let's do this. So first thing we need to do is bind the class, and so to do that, I'm going to open the UI framework here. So all those bindings are done in this UI framework apply data binding place here. So what it does is it selects some matches, so that we don't select everything in the DOM. We're only going to select things that we're concerned with, things with tag effects, show, xtext, xhtml, and xsource. So now we have something else we need to worry about, which is xbind class. So once we get to something with xbind class, we need to handle that situation. So let's add a condition here for xbind class. I'm going to copy something with xshow. Okay, so if I have xbind class, first thing I need to get here is the evaluated class. Okay, so let's just log this evaluated class. Okay, so yeah, so let's see. So we can get you see the evaluated class there evaluates to BG gray, because the selected template is rectangle, if we say it's not rectangle, I'm just going to get false there. So okay, so yeah, now that we have that set up, now we just need to obviously apply the class to the item. So the most obvious way to do this would be something like node dot set attribute. So in normal JavaScript, you'll probably be using something like class name, but for some reason sval doesn't have class name, and most of these things are done inside the sval engine here. So for some reason it doesn't have class name, so I'm just going to do something from Web 2.0 using set attribute. So I'm just going to set attribute to the evaluated class. Okay, save that. So yeah, you'll notice even though I have that BG gray, which is supposed to be showing me the gray background, I'm still not getting the BG gray here, and that is because we are why that actually I was expecting it to get the BG gray class. I'm not seeing it. Evaluated class. Curious. Here's something we can do. Can do a quick query selector to get this item here. Okay, so yeah, it's not giving me that class for some reason. I don't know why that is. Let's make sure we're getting this class. Okay, here we're getting that class. If we can try and see if we can get this. Are we still getting that evaluated class? Not sure. No, so it looks like there's something happening here. Probably a bug. Okay, so okay, so not get attribute is not a function. There's a typo. Attribute and set attribute. Okay, so now it works. Yeah, so okay, so now we'll notice now it's actually working, but we have lost the other classes. If you do that trick I just showed you here of getting that item there, you'll see now it only has that one class, and by default it had lots of classes here. So it had all these classes for styling. So obviously if it's not obvious to you at this point, it's basically we just need to store a reference to the old class or the default class that is not doesn't include binding conditions, and then once we have that, we store that for later reference. So let me show you what I mean. So by default here I'm going to do something like this. So yeah, original class. So basically what I want to do is if node dot get attribute. Okay, node dot contains has attribute original class. maybe we could use like a data here, but no need. If node has attribute original class, actually if it doesn't have that attribute, then we're just going to set that attribute based on the original class here. So yeah, on first pass, that's what it's going to get the original class from. It's going to set the original class, and then after that we can just say original class. We're getting this from original class now, because if you just got it straight from the class, it will also include this class that has been added now. So on first pass we come and set the, if it doesn't have the original class, we set the original class to the original class there. And then after that, now you're getting this variable for original class from the original class attribute. And then from this, just a simple case of doing adding the original class here, adding some space in case they're to prevent some so that they're not tied together. So that otherwise the BG gray would come and tie into the end there. So I'm just adding a little bit of space between the original classes. This could actually probably be original classes. Yeah. So original classes, and then this could be evaluated classes. So yeah, and just like that, I think that will fix our issue. Let's see, save. Let me see what is not happening. Oh yeah, this should be class. Yeah, so now you see we're back here, we're getting the BG gray, and if we change that condition there, it should still work. You see now the BG gray is gone. So yeah, that is setting classes. Now something else I want to set is this color here. So I want to make sure this now is binding to a different thing, so a style. Before you do that, actually, let's just finish up this logic. So we actually also want to make sure that we do the same logic for here. Now we are checking if the original class is circle, BG gray, and remove BG gray from here. So you'll notice now the circle it doesn't have the BG gray. Yeah, now you just need to add some click events. So we'll say add click here. Now this is a little bit weird, adding this dot here, bear with me. If you could suggest different ways to make this work without the this, that would be appreciated. But right now you actually have to use the this, which, like I said, I admit is a little bit weird. So this is the selected template here. It will be rectangle, and in this other case here it will be circle. Yeah, so hopefully by doing that, now when I click the circle shows. Yeah, so there you have it. So now moving on to styling. So to styling, now let's make sure, I wanted to do something here that is bind styling. So if the actually the logic that should be there is this. You'll notice now when I'm doing normal binding, so if I wanted to bind to the selected template here, it would be something like you see I don't need to use this. That's why I'm telling you that it's a little bit weird. But with the click events, I actually have to use this. Anyway, so unless of course I was calling like a method. If I was calling a method down here, then this will go into the method. I just need to call the method name. So if I had something like set template, and then template there, just say this dot get. Yeah, I actually have to use UI. That's it. I know. UI assisted. Selected template HTML, and then I can use. I can do this now. I won't need to do that here. I just need to say call that method. And this would be, yeah, hopefully this still works. Strange. It's not working. Why is it not working? Strange. This should work. Let's see. So let me try and figure out what is going on there. So span text is equal to selected template. Do something like so selected template is rectangle, but that doesn't happen. So why is it not working? If I say this, I don't think that should work. Strange. Let me see if I can I'm getting any bugs here. This assisted is not a function. Okay. I know it's definitely supposed to be UI. Okay, let's see if we can see what UI is there. Very strange. Let me see. I can't see why that is not working. Select the template. So it actually shows that. Okay, I'm going to pause again. Okay, sorry again about that. So it turns out I was just being silly here. So if you revert back to what we had before. So it used to just say this the selected template. So basically what I was supposed to do is so once you have that, let's see here. So this case of using UI.setState is a little bit peculiar because these elements here are generated on the fly. They are not part of the original template. So this click happens much later, and it's not part of this UI generation algorithm in the back. So, but this method here is not is basically receiving a click from content that has already been passed. If that doesn't make any sense, pardon me, but let's just move on. So all I'm supposed to do is say this dot selected template is equal to TPL there, which has been passed by the user, and yeah, and that should fix the issue. So yeah, so basically the same thing you had in the code there. The only difference is now instead of saying you don't really need to have this docent template anymore, you can just use set template directly there. Yeah, hopefully by the time you're watching this, I've figured out a way to fix that problem so that I don't have to call UI.setState here while calling this .set template here. Fingers crossed. Anyway, moving on. So now that we have selected, we have updated the backgrounds. Now we just need to work with binding the styles. So with styles, I chose to use the React way of passing styles as objects because I didn't want to start playing around and messing around with CSS strings. And actually, during my research there, I found out that while in JavaScript, normally you can just say node.style.css text is equal to, and you pass in the CSS text there like background red. I've noticed that SVAL doesn't support this, so I decided to just go with a way that is easier on myself. Okay. So that being said, let's duplicate this code here. And also let me add xbind style. So again, this is something in other frameworks you'd be able to do something like xbind style like that, and then you can also remove this xbind completely, so it will just be something like this. But for some reason, again, we are working within SVAL limitations here, so either it's SVAL or I haven't figured out how to do it. Their suggestions based on Googling was I should be able to do this and it would work, but it wasn't working here for some reason. I'm not sure what exactly. So yeah, moving on. So now that we have the bind style there, I'm going to just do the same here. And this is a little bit easier because we don't need to keep track of that original classes. You can just get the style here, evaluated styles, and we'll just need to say node.style, actually object dot assign. Again, a little bit of a gotcha here. You would imagine now that you're doing a 6, you'll be able to say something like node.style is equal to node.style, and then pass in the new evaluated styles. But for some reason that doesn't work, so you just need to do the old way of saying. I think it's probably because SVAL can't handle everything. They're choosing to be very selective with what they handle, which is fine because it also keeps the size small. So yeah, anyway, so if I do object.assign node.style and then assign the new styles that have been evaluated, it actually goes in and works just fine. Yeah, so let's move on. So now that I'm thinking of it, we might actually have to do that, but I won't bother with it right now. It's a use case that we won't see for a while. So as you can see, the red has come in there now, and it's because we had this style here. So xbind style background color. So I was saying this should be, if the selected template is a rectangle, then the color should be, let's say, black. Otherwise it will just be gray. Okay, and then we do the same thing for the span in here. Another reminder for the millionth time, you do not need to go this direction. I just find for me it's easier to work with state instead of manually updating the DOM every other time. So yeah, background color is equal to selected template. If now it's circle, yeah, so you can even say maybe like gray. Yeah, so if I choose circle here, yeah, there is light gray here too. So yeah, we could also even say something like transparent. Could just add a border here. Oh, here it is. Okay. Class border, and have class border here. Let's try border 2. Okay, and yeah, in that case we'll just do something like background color. If the background color is selected there, otherwise it would just be transparent instead of light gray. Okay, so there you have it. We could maybe help ourselves here a little bit with the border color class. Okay, so let's see here. So we just say border 2 and have this at border black. Okay, so yeah, now if I do that, it will do the needful. For some reason this is not working. Curious. Or this should be the opposite. If it's rectangle, it's black. If it's circle, it's black, otherwise it's transparent. Am I missing something? So it updates that, but the color doesn't come in. Very strange. Probably misspelling the circle. Oh yeah, I'm misspelling circle. Okay. Cool, so now if I select that, that should work properly. Anyway, so hopefully lessons going forward are not as filled with so much drama. Let's use border black by default. I think it's using border black. It just doesn't feel like, oh yeah, the outer ones are not using border black. So border. Yeah, so but the 2 is not applying the width here for some reason. Oh yeah, it was a pixels thing. So yeah, let's undo that. So yeah. Okay, hopefully this actually works now. I don't think we need border black anymore. Yeah. So yeah, so that's that. So if you select a different template, it shows the different template. Now this is probably like basics, but it's a good thing that we actually fixed some bugs for people who are going to use the framework going forward. Anyway, so now that we have that, we can move on to the next part, which is actually now showing some extra properties for the colors. So if the color is a rectangle, I want to actually show something else. So for rectangles, I want to make sure the user can choose if the rectangle is rounded or if it's just a solid rectangle. And if this is feels a little bit theoretical to you, is basically I'm going off of this template here. So you'll see in the design here, if I can get this design. Yeah, so in the rectangle there's this, probably this will be a different shape. Yeah, I think this will be a different shape. I'm going to use a different shape to show this. So okay, let's start with this. This looks simple. So now we just need to make sure these circles are tied in together when we build that. So let's go to the next step. So when I click generate here, what it's supposed to do is do what we had done in the previous lesson. Okay, so like I said, we're going to get started with this guy here. So I wanted to again quickly go through a little bit of a strategy here. So the strategy here we're going to have is when this button gets clicked, actually let's write the code to click that button first. The button I'm talking about is this generate here. So you can just use our normal trick of at click and add generate, because this is actually limited to within this UI here. So you actually have to break out of that UI. So to do that, I'm just going to give it an ID. We're going back to like the old way that we've been avoiding so far, but I think it makes sense because this is like the outside action. So let's call this generate palette button, and have to change our code here a little bit. So basically just have to create, say, something like panel, okay, so okay, so let's just call this one created panel. Is equal to create, and then we'll do this logic here, pen child the created panel. You know, I actually don't even need to do that. Ideally I should be able to, anyway. So I'm moving on. So now I'm going to add some logic here, which is going to be basically created panel dot query selector, look for that button, event listener, click. Okay, so yeah, So that one, like I said, let's talk about strategy. So the first thing is here, get all the create items from selected colors. Which is something you can actually just copy from the last one. Where is it? This is generate rectangles. Let's copy the circles. So just do something like this here, and generated circles. So let's just leave those comments there. So go through list of selected items and then generate a circle for each selected item with color taken from the fill. So the only different thing here is we are not going to do this, because the next step of this plan here is to create an artboard. Place it above all other artboards, and then the last thing is add the selected items to the artboard. They generated actually. Sorry. So yeah, like I said, create items from selected colors. So this is going to be the easiest one. We'll just get that from there, and then say const. Sorry. Actually, you can just return this, guys, because I'm calling this method here. So generated items. Then we can get the selection from artboard. Sorry, not artboard. From yeah. So since we're editing a document, this is probably a very good time to show this other thing here. We need to have grab the edit document from the application. Okay, so I'm going to just do a quick Google here, search, so I can show you why we need to do that. Yeah, I can't really find what I'm looking for here, but basically what edit document allows you to, in XD, when you're building a panel plugin, you can't really edit the content in the UI. You can't update the artboards here without being inside of edit document. Hopefully I find better information on, or a better way to explain this and append it at the end of the video. But otherwise, go through the forums, ask a question on Stack Overflow, ping somebody on Twitter. So I would suggest Kerry Shots. I think it's Kerry Shots. Let me see if I can get the name here. Kerry Shots. Yeah. Look for Kerry Shots on Twitter, ping, and then, you know, you'll probably get your answers there, or somebody else from Adobe. Anyway, so yeah, moving on. So edit document, you're going to get that from the application. So require edit document, and then okay. So if we can get back that example here, so I can copy code, because I don't want to write code. There it is. Okay, so this actually also helps if you've ever seen you click a plugin and then it shows a little bit of a loader, it's because of this. So you make sure you add a relevant message here. So generating palette, and yeah, so that gives you the selection, and we can pass the selection into these guys here. So it actually gives you selection and something else we're going to look at a bit later on. So selection, generate circles, we pass in the selection, and then it gives us back the circles. So if you're curious, let me just do this without the edit document so you can see the error. We'll add a try catch here. If you're not curious, you've probably jumped past this part. So console log error. Okay. So let's try and generate do that thing. See if we can get the error. Generate. We're not getting an error. Why are we not getting an error? Is the click listener getting cold? Let me see if I can log this message here. Oh yeah, sometimes this stops, so you actually need to load it again and debug. Okay, so I have it. So generate palette and then generate. Reference area ellipse is not defined. That is not what we're looking for. Okay, you can get the ellipse from. You can get the ellipse from there. Okay, let's try again. Okay, so error plugin palette generator is not permitted to make changes from the background. Use edit document. So yeah, like I said, to get a more handle on this, how this happens, or rather why there's that limitation, ask questions in the forum or ping somebody on Twitter. Yeah, but anyway, so now that you've seen the error, proven that I'm not making things up, I'm going to move on. So yeah, now if we do this right now and say console log here, circles, submit that. Our circles are there. Magical, isn't it? Yeah. So for some reason they've been added. Oh yeah. So like I said, that we were actually going to try and not do this here. We just want to get the circles and we'll figure out a way to place them. So I'm just going to do that logic here. Close that for each. I'll just do, it's basically the same thing right now, but we'll see why that is different, why this is necessary a little bit. So do that, generate. Oh, something is not opening. Selection dot circle. Oh yeah, there's a size issue. Where are my sizes? Yeah, I think I can grab. Yeah, I can maybe grab the size from here. So okay, so let's pass in the size to those guys. So let's tell these guys we want you to selection. I want to just have a size of 20 size. Okay. And yeah, so let's get the size. Okay, let's get the size in there. So yeah, console log circles, generate circles, and then log the circles that have been generated, and then add them to the parent. I can also get the eye from here. Okay, let's try again. Generate. Okay, this is on mine. Strange. Okay, let me see what is not happening. Cannot read property remove of undefined. What? Why I'm not returning this cycle by alter. Okay. And there we go. So we're back. So now let's move on with the rest of. I forget that we were stuck for a second there. So I'm going to move these guys in here. Okay. So let's go to the next step. So the next step is to create an artboard and place it above all other artboards. So to create an artboard is quite straightforward. You just do the same thing we did here. So create an artboard. So artboard is equal to new. Let's call this guy arty because I like that name. Artboard. Okay, so new artboard, and then we can give it the normal properties. Let's give this a width maybe 200. Oh, we could actually get this from the items. So let's get it from the. So this will be like size of the items times items dot length. And then we'll add some space, maybe a padding of 50 on each side. Okay, and the height will just be the same thing. Yeah, so we can get these dimensions. Size. Actually, you can't really do that because the height is actually going to just be the size and then plus some sort of padding at the top and bottom. Yeah, so moving on, because we're going to align these items horizontally, as you can see if you can look at the design here. There we go. So yeah, moving on. So now that we've created an artboard, we also need to append it to the parent. So let's do the obvious one. Circle insertion point. Add the RT there. Okay. And you add, submit, create. Nothing happens. So we're obviously getting an error. Let's try and figure out what the error is. Sorry, basically get out of this. Okay. Error. Okay, so generate. Okay, so yeah, unlike some of my other errors, this is an error I wanted you to see. So artboard is not defined. Why is artboard not defined? Okay, that is not the error I wanted you to see. Okay. to be. That's not there until you see. Let's try again. Yeah, that's there. So artboards may only be a child of the artwork root node. So you cannot append an artboard just because now what we are saying right now is selection.insertion parent. So basically anywhere you are here, so this is the selection, maybe the insertion parent would probably be somewhere where these two people here have been added. Add an artboard there, and basically you're telling the artboard to be added into another artboard, which is it just doesn't make sense, and also it's not supported. So the thing we're going to do is figure out, if we zoom out, figure out the top leftmost artboard and then place our new artboard above it. But before you do that, first you need to change the logic here, and so this you can only add the artboard from the root parent. So root node there, and we get the root node. I told you earlier on that with selection you get something else, and that is the root node. So yeah, so hopefully now this works and we don't get another error. Generate. Yeah, so we have actually created the artboard, but here's a neat little thing. So you can see, okay, let me show you what I mean. So let's delete that generating comment there. I forgot to add the artboard fill here. So art.fill is equal to new color. Let's give this red, and let's go again and create an artboard. Sorry. I'll have to probably research how to get this autocomplete, auto import to work with the UXP stuff here on XD. I'm sure there's like a plugin out there that I'm not using. Hopefully by the next video I'm using that plugin. Yeah, anyway, moving on. So generate, there you see. So there is our artboard. The only problem is now it's being placed at a place that is not favorable. So like I said, the trick is now to figure out the topmost artboard. After research I found out that XD doesn't actually give you anything to know where the topmost artboard is, so you can place it above it, because now if you look at the root node, yeah, sorry about that, I had to answer the door, somebody was calling. Anyway, so like I was saying, I was looking at the post here, and somebody suggested something nice. Okay, I was actually going to show you first. If we say look for root node, okay, so if you look for the root node here, so you'll see there it is. So yeah, when you say add child, it gives you an option to add a child after, which means it is relative to another child or child before. But now you actually have to know where the child is at. So yeah, but again, in my research, somebody suggested here something nice. So they said, since XD gives you complete freedom here, it's up to you to find a free space in the global coordinate system and place your artboard there. So my plan here is I'm going to add a little bit to our plan here. So now in this plan of placing it above all other artboards, in that grand plan there, the next step of this plan is to actually find the most, I don't know if that is correct, top left artboard, place the new artboard I'll place RT above it. So yeah, so now let's talk about this plan here. Okay. Okay, so the first step here is now how do we find all the other artboards? Because we already have a root node here. We can grab the children of the root node. How do I know a root node has children? Is because a root node is a child of scene node, and scene node have children. So yeah, now if we grab the root node children here, dot for each. And then this is a node. So before you go on, we actually need to filter them by artboards. So filter, make sure node is instance of artboard. Okay, so console log these artboards here. So when you're doing this, if you're following along or when you go and copy this code, something you might want to do is do the logic for when there are no artboards. Twist this logic a little bit. I'm not going to handle that. We already this video is already way too long. So anyway, console log artboards there. Let's see if we can see the artboards. Okay. Generate. Do you have a background? Strange. Shouldn't. Okay. Okay, what is the error? Art. Did I misspell again? Auto. Why? Okay, let's try again. So clear this error and generate. Hopefully there are no errors right now, and we have our 5 artboards here. So yeah, now if you look at these artboards, the thing I'm most interested about is the global bounds. So they also have local bounds, but most of them will just be 0, 0. So I'm interested mostly in the global bounds, because this is actually where are the artboards placed in the context of the root node or in the context of the global scene. So if you are manipulating children inside an artboard, in that case, then you will definitely be interested in the local artboard, local bounds. Sorry. You can see the properties are basically the same. It's a point. If you see here, so point basically gives you it's bounds which have an x, a y, a width, and a height. So they're both of type bound there. So anyway, so now that we know that we can find local bounds, let's continue with our endeavors here. So artboard bounds will be formed from artboards dot map, and then grab the global bounds from there, return the global bounds, and let's see if we can get those to see what those are. Okay, misspelled again. For some reason this T is not writing itself. Okay, so it's draw now artboard bounds. Okay, try again, undo that, generate. can see now we get our bounds here. So the X, Y, and whatnot. Yeah, so now that we have those, I can basically do the math. So the first thing I want to have is let top left most left, I don't know, this is not a very good variable name, I know. Topmost. Okay, I actually like that a little bit better. So we want to use those artboards and try and find out which is the most left and which is the topmost. Not really the artboards, but rather the bounds. What is the least, the lowest value of X, what is the lowest value of Y, and then we'll place our artboard in that place then. So yeah, to get those, basically just do math.min. So most left is equal to math.min, and we'll get the upper bounds.map, and then we can grab an X in here. And then, so this, if you're like me, you probably like to clean this up a little bit. Of course, X positions, we can grab those X positions, and then, so on math.min here, you can spread that array, and it will give us the lowest, and do the same thing here for the Y positions. So this is topmost. Okay, so topmost would be math.min, the Y positions. So hopefully you can see there and see the topmost, actually on the most left, the topmost placement. Okay, so placement, let's see if we can get our placement there. We're still logging the errors if there are any. Generate, and we get a negative 136, topmost is negative 252. So yeah, now the only thing that is left is place our artboard there. Okay, so move these guys out of this. Let's see. I'm thinking probably also want to do probably move this into a function to simplify things a little bit. I feel like this is a little bit too crowded. Yeah, let's move this into function. So this is basically just a function, get artboard placement. So yeah, like I said, to do here is check add logic for when there are no artboards, and also add logic for when there's no space to add an artboard anymore. So I think, I'm not sure what the cap is, but XD has a cap of how many the bounds of that artboard. So so yeah, moving on. So and this will return us, this is basically what we care about. This is the X, this is the Y, and then this will pass us root node and artboard. yeah, so moving on. Let's come back here. Yeah, so this is the logic. Let's leave it there. So yeah, this will find so this will basically find the topmost artboard and then place so yeah, the logic has changed a little bit here. Basically what this is doing is getting the most top left coordinates, and so let's call this chords, placement chords. Let's just call them chords. Anyway, so now place RT there. So we've already added RT to the root node. The next thing here is just to place it. Now there's this method here called place in parent coordinates. So hopefully there's an example of it somewhere here I can show you. Yeah, so this is an example. So basically what you'll be doing is get the parent's coordinates and then get the node's coordinates and then place the node in the parent. This looks like something to do in a function, place in parent. So in our case you don't really want we don't really want to place it at the center. I think there's a method called top left in parent. Yeah, there it is. Top left in parent. So that's actually what we want. So this is basically the position. Okay, so we get the node and the position, and then we can say position is equal to position. So if the user hasn't given us a position, we just use the top left in parent. Otherwise, we just use the coordinates that were provided to us. Maybe coordinates instead of position. Okay, so place in parent. Let's use that. You see, I was telling you about local bounds. So you basically get the x and y from the local bounds here. Okay, so the only thing you need to do now is place in parent, and then we're placing RT, and we are using those coordinates that we got right now. Okay, so now a little bit of something to know here. Let's just show you why that is not working. Okay. There we go. And now let's do that. One error. Excuse me. Doesn't look like it. Nowadays, cannot read property children of undefined. Where is this getting called at? 136. opacity root node. Yeah, root node and artboard. Forgot pass those in. Okay, try again. No errors. But you'll see now, see what happened. So he got the topmost artboard here, as you can see, and he placed the artboard there. But what you want is actually to place it outside of this, so above this. So we are going to just subtract the height there, so that it shows up above the node there. Let me see. So yeah, so instead of this being let's I feel like I can just add those logic here, so I can grab the x and y from here, place so just get the x because I want it to stay on the left where it is, and then y is going to be y minus the size, this size here. Maybe we can get a variable for this. Okay, so the y is going to be the minus height, and then we're going to minus some sort of margin, so that it's not staying exactly on top of the top leftmost artboard there. So yeah, let's try and run that again. No errors, and you see now it's actually placed it there. So yeah, we can maybe minus even 60, 50, and then I noticed that I actually forgot to give it some sort of name. Generated palette. Okay, do create. There it is. So if you zoom in here, you'll be seeing it there with the new name. That being said, we no longer need the red. We can just take it back to white, and then now we just need to add those children generated items into the parent. So here they are right now. They're being shown, they're being placed in here. So I just need to take out place in parent, and then now for each of those items, instead of placing them in the insertion point, just place them into RT. Add child, and then circle moving parents. So we can also use that place in parent again. Place in parent. We want to place it in parent. We want to place the circle in parent, and we want to place it at these are the coordinates basically. So the y is basically, it's not going to, you can see based on the design there, they are actually on the same level. So the y is just going to be 0. The x is going to vary. It's going to vary based on the index. So it's going to be basically size times index. Let's open this up a little bit. Almost like a library, like library code, and you don't want it to look like library code. So anyway, so hopefully that does the trick and places our items into RT. Generate, yay. Yeah, so so now the next thing there is to place them at the center. Actually, in this case, we are going to be at the center. So in this case, instead of just doing that, we are going to get the X position from the center of the parent. Is it? Yeah, so I'm thinking place it in the center and then move it to the left. You know, I'm not going to bother with that. So that sounds like something you might want to do. So you would imagine this circle was the whole artboard, and you'd figure out a way to place them at the center here. It's not very complex, but again, I don't want to keep this video any longer than it needs to be. So I'm just going to place them at the top there. The only thing I can do for you guys is maybe place this at 20 instead of 0. Be 10, and then so the size is also going to be plus 10, so that is not hugging the left corner there. If I do this and generate, they're going to do something like that. So yeah, it looks like 10 is too much. Let's try 5. Okay, so there you go. The last thing is now we need to do this, what they're doing here, which is basically place the item behind the other one. So yeah, I think we can use instead of just doing adding to parent, we can use add before. Hopefully we have that, something like that. Add child before. So here we're going to just do a quick check here. If this index is 0, okay, let me show you what I mean. Let me just I think I'm thinking ahead. So the X there is going to actually be now just move this out into a variable here. So that's what the X is going to be like. If I is not equal to X, if I is not equal to 0, if this is not the first item, you basically want to move it back by half of the child. I think that is what they are doing here. Maybe 1/3. Yeah, I think it's 1/3. So basically X is going to be minus equals size times what is 1/3? I think it's 0.3. Yeah, 0.33. Yeah, so basically move it. You know, you can actually do size over 3. Okay, so let's see if that works. Fingers crossed that it works. I'm supposed to, why is it manipulating the Y instead? Curious. Am I doing something wrong? Strange. Yeah, this actually works. Not sure why this logic is not happening. So X is equal to X minus equal. Let's try size over 2. Let's try to figure out what the over 2 is. So the size is 20. So let's move it back minus 10. have some sort of bug. Assignment to constant variable. Okay. Is it a consistent bug? Yeah. So okay. That's not it. It's this. That's what we're looking to change. Okay, clear that. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, now what I was trying to show you, this new circle here comes after the first, so it shows on top. So, but when you look at the design, the new circles actually come afterwards. So there are many ways you can do this. You can reverse the array and then start filling from the right instead of from the left, or otherwise you can just do the trick I just wanted to show you there, which is so okay, so we're just going to change this logic a little bit here and say if I is equal to 0, we're just going to do what we're doing right now. There it is. So just going to add the child to artboard. Otherwise, if it's not 0, we're just going to do the, let's do this to simplify the logic a little bit. So if I is equal to 0, everything goes as usual. Otherwise, we first edit the we first edit the X position there, and instead of adding to doing a normal addition here, we use that method I just showed you. So where is it? Yeah, so add child after. We actually want to add it before. So just do RT, that child before, we're adding the circle. You actually want to add it before the circles, I-1. And yeah, that should do it. And then from there we just place it normally. So hopefully by doing that, we've fixed that issue. Whoa. Did I have a bug? Oh, circle is not defined. I cannot type today. I cannot type. Anyway. So let's see, try again. There you go. So yeah, you can see now it actually shows in the correct place. Let's try and generate as many as possible. So I'm going to delete this guy. We are no longer using them. We've gotten to a real place now. So we can actually select some many items here and see them happening. So you can grab that there, grab that there, grab that there, grab that, grab that, grab that. Missing a what? We're missing this guy here. You can grab him from there. You're also missing a purple. There you go. So yeah, here are colors, and then if we say generate, they're there. For some reason, it's not doing what it's supposed to do. Let's see what is not happening. If I go to 0, circle, x1 is equals 10. you guys spot anything? I think it's probably a problem with this +5 here. Nope. Some of them getting hidden behind things. Let's see. So let's move over all the modifier logic here and see what happens. So we're supposed to start at we started at the pink, blue, the green, the purple, everything looks to be there. I must be missing something. What am I missing? Place in parent. Here it is. Okay, so I think I know what to do. So I'm just going to change the logic here. So if this is x, just say x is equal to there, and then +5. And y is equal to 5. Y is always going to be equal to 5. So otherwise, okay, I think I figured out how to do it. So the other way to do it is just grab the previous circle. So okay, so basically grab this the previous circle there, and we can get the x is equal to previous circle dot local bounds dot x. Now this will probably put everything on top of each other. Let's see if we can see that happening. Generate, there we go. And then we just need to add plus size over 7. So basically, let's try and see if it works. Wait, no, what? Generate this, guys. Let's see. How are we going to move that guy there in that next space? Okay. Oh yeah, sorry. It's supposed to be plus local bounds x plus size. So the first artboard is just going to be placed at 5. Okay. The next artboard is going to be placed in the local bounds x plus size. That should work. For some reason it does not. Times I. Okay, you probably can tell by now that I'm not a very good algorithm writer. Anyway. Yeah, so that works, but anyway, so struggled, but we finally got there. So there they are. Hopefully this was fun. Sorry that it took too long to figure this out, but hopefully you've seen you can do this even if you're not a good algorithm writer. Anyway, until next time, see you.